episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast. My name is Hannah, and this is a podcast all about crochet, a little bit of knitting, sometimes sewing, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. How are you? It has been 2 weeks. It's been a crazy 2 weeks for me. It involved a lot of working and not a lot of crochet or knitting time, so I was sitting down to record this and I was like, oh, not gonna have anything to talk about. That's not true. I worked on 6 different projects. I have a crochet finished object and an almost finished object in crochet as well. So I actually have plenty to talk about. And later in the episode, we are going to talk about some things that you have not seen unless you have been here since the very, very beginning. A stack of shawls, a couple of sweaters, because I am running out of space in my house. So the places where I keep all of my crochet makes are overflowing. They're stuffed beyond capacity, and I've taken over other parts of the room as well. So I went through and I pulled out things that I love but do not wear. And the criteria was I haven't really worn them in the past year. So I will be having a sample sale, and we'll talk about that later in the episode. If you are not interested in purchasing any of those, that's totally fine, but I do recommend sticking around because you might see a pattern or two that may interest you. So if you are looking for me anywhere on the interweb, you can find me as The Cozy Cottage Crochet on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me as The Cozy Cottage on Ravelry. We do have a Ravelry group for this podcast. You can find the link to that directly down below in the drop down. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, notes, anything you want to say about the podcast specifically, and you want to ensure that I will see your message and be able to respond to you, please do send me an email. I have an email address set up specifically for this podcast, and it is thecozycottagecrochet@gmail.com. Ooh, I need some water. For some reason, I feel very dehydrated today. I have no idea why. It's maybe just because it's been so hot here this week, the last 2 weeks. It's the end of June in Florida, which, I mean, normally it's in the 80s right now, but it's been in the 90s, and it's like, it is not normally this hot. I am not wearing any crochet because it is a cool, 72, 73 in our house right now. Outside, it's probably already 80 something. I have no idea because I'm recording on my phone and I can't check the weather. All I know is I went for a run the other day outside and I only went a mile because, oh my word, it was so hot. We have 2 make-alongs running currently as part of this podcast. So the first is a year-long make-along called the Year of the Sock 2019. I will put the hashtag on the screen. This is just an informal sock make-along for the entire year of 2019, and I will have some sock progress to show you later in this episode, although not as much as I have been having. What's going on? I don't think my sock mojo is waning. I just haven't had very much time. So you can knit or crochet your socks, it does not matter, and you can put your, what am I trying to say? You put your finished objects, you can put your chatter. There's just one thread in that for the Ravelry group, and a prize will be drawn every quarter. So it's the end of June right now, but technically June is not over, it's the 29th as I am recording this. So I will pick a winner out of that thread next podcast episode and announce that, and I'm very excited. And then the other make-along that we have running is the End of the Whip. Now, that should be sung to the tune of REM's The End of the World, and we know it. And I feel fine, because we are focusing on finishing our whips until the end of July at least. And if you guys need more time, I may extend it a little bit beyond that. I have been pretty monogamous on my crochet, which is why I have a finished object, which I dropped on the floor just now. I feel like summer is a great time to focus on whips because while I want to start everything, my whip basket is overwhelming. And I have actually finished several crochet things in the last few podcast episodes, and I'm excited to show you what I have finished today. And there are literally like no rules. The only thing you have to do is focus on finishing. So you can have one end left to weave in on a project. You can just have the crochet done and you need to seam it together. You can start something entirely new and finish it. It doesn't matter to me. You can do any craft. You can crochet, you can knit, you can spin, you can weave, you can embroider, you can cross stitch, you can sew. It does not matter to me as long as you take a whip that you have or even a new project and focus on finishing that project. And give some love to your whip stash. And there will be some prizes for that. I don't have them arranged yet. They're all in the room behind this wall in the closet. And I probably won't have a chance to look at those for another little while, but once I have those arranged, I will show you. There will be some prizes for the Instagram. What am I, 90 years old? For Instagram, there will be prizes for the chatter thread as well as the finished objects thread. And you guys are so many finished objects. It's just bringing me so much joy. Let's jump in, shall we? The first finished object that I have, both of these are crochet. So excited. You did not see because I hadn't even started them last time. This is for a commission. Someone asked me if I could make them, and I was like, yes, because they're so cute. So I'll show you the yarn and then I'll show you the pattern. So I am using, for the main color is Big Twist, their value yarn. This is 100% acrylic. You get 371 yards per 170 grams. This color is, I don't know what, emerald. So we have emerald, and then the contrast color in the same yarn is royal blue. I got this at Joann's with a coupon, obviously. And I would say I've used maybe, I don't even think half the ball of this. The pattern is a free pattern. It is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Gloves for Kids by Auburn Elephant. It is linked in my project page on Ravelry so that you can find this, or you can just Google it. It's a completely free pattern, but what I will say is it is for kids. And the person who wanted me to make this is an adult. So he's a math teacher. And his students apparently don't want to spend time learning how to do math, like not on the internet. They just spend all their time watching YouTube. That's definitely not my problem in life. Yes, it is. So he was like, well, I want to record some YouTube videos showing them how to work out math problems, but I need something to make it cooler. So can you make me some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle gloves so that my students will think that this is cooler? And I was like, 100%. So there's one. I finished these last night. So Leonardo, obviously, because of blue. Sorry for the interruption. Normally I don't comment on those, but something really interesting just happened. So there was a knock at our door and some tree people are outside taking down one of our neighbor's trees today apparently, and we had to move some cars around. Anyways, I have not washed these yet, so they're really stiff, but they're a little big on me, so they should fit him. I had him measure his hand, and his hands are like a ½ an inch wider than mine. There's definitely a ½ an inch of stretch in here, so I think that that will be fine. So obviously there's 2 holes that you put your fingers in because it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is what the inside of the gloves looks like. So you do the cuff, then you crochet up, and then you do this wrap and you kind of sew that on, which I will say sewing on the wrap was definitely the most fiddly and annoying part. The rest of it was fine. I did do, because this pattern is in kid sizes, I had to essentially make 3 gloves so that I could rework the math. So I did the cuff and then worked about this much, didn't like it, ripped it out, redid the cuff, and then I had to redo the math all around here. Once you get to here, it's pretty much fine, and then you just divide this in half. But I don't know, it's fine. It's a fine pattern, but I'm excited. They're really beautiful. Once I redid the math, it was fine. So I'm excited. They're really cool. I think it'll be a big hit. And if you hear background noise, it's because there's other people in the house besides me. But I have a lot to do today, so I have to record right now. My brother is here, my brother's girlfriend, their baby, my husband's working over there if you hear typing. It's about 8:30 a.m. on a Friday, and I have to leave in a few hours and go get my mom because she's coming over tonight because it was my brother's birthday this week, so I have to go get her, and then I have to make a carrot cake, and I have to go to the grocery store to get the stuff to make a carrot cake. It's gonna be a busy day. So that's finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 is almost finished. I have not woven in the ends or seamed it yet because I need to do something first. It was living in my alpaca, my bag. And this is your bi-weekly alpaca butt view. The yarn that is in here is, of course, this amazing yarn that I got at my local yarn store Stash, a place for yarn in St. Pete. This is Malabrigo. The colorway is Lynx. It is 100% superwash single ply. You get 420 yards for 100 grams, and I bought 2, but I made it out of 1. Now, this is probably only like 10 grams. I'm gonna have to weigh this because I am a little concerned about other people playing yarn chicken, but it technically is a 1 skein project. So it is finished, washed, and blocked. The reason that it's not seamed is because I need to take measurements of it before it is seamed. And this is what it looks like. So it is a bottom up triangle cowl. So you work in creases. So you're gonna start from this point right here. And then you can see it has these lace kind of eyelet-y rows. And you work from the bottom up until you get to a certain point, and then you're gonna work flat and stop increasing so that this part, and this is the part you seam right here. So when it's on, it's gonna look like this. If I can grab it. It's gonna basically look like this, which I think is perfect. And, ooh, I like how the little eyelets are showing up on my shirt. It's not going to move because it's going to be a cowl. And it's loose, it's a little bit loose. I intentionally made it that way because I don't like things choking me around my neck. I know some of you guys like really tight cowls. This will be really easy to modify, and I will put instructions. It is an adult size, but if you wanted to make it for a child, you would just stop increasing sooner and work a flat panel. If you think you're gonna run out of yarn, you would maybe do 1 less. Let's see how that would look. 1 less, pattern repeat, and it would be just a little bit shallower. So I love it. It's really difficult to tell because it looks orange and black, but the yarn is actually orange and purple. And it was just a pleasure to work with. I love Malabrigo. Like, if I could only choose 1 yarn to work with forever for the rest of my life, like 1 family of yarns, it would probably be Malabrigo. Oh, I just love it. I love the eyelets. I can't wait to wear this. It's so light and airy because I've used, you can see after it's blocked, you can kind of see through it. I wanted it to be light and meshy and airy because Florida. I still don't know if I'll be able to wear this anytime soon, but I'm very excited about it. And I don't know, I will definitely get the seaming done in the next 2 weeks. I already have the pattern halfway written up, and then of course I'll have to get it tested and tech edited. And my Tunisian Zen cowl pattern, the tester should be wrapping up very shortly, and then I will be finding a tech editor for that. Although I don't know if the tech editors I've used in the past do Tunisian. So it may take me a little while to do that. But that is finished object number 2, which I'm excited about. And I do have some works in progress. I have 2 socks as works in progress. I have 1 knitting project and 1 crochet project. Let's start with the socks because that's where we always start, yes? I am kind of surprised about how little sock knitting I have done, but it's just been that kind of 2 weeks. You already saw this sock last time because this is the one I had finished, but I will show you so that I can show you the yarn. This is the Salburble yarn, which is, it means like crazy magic yarn ball. This is how much I have left. So I am trying to use as much of this yarn as possible. And the colorway is Bunt Metal. This is the tag. Salburball Crazy. It is a 75-25 superwash merino. Well, I don't think it's merino. It's just superwash wool and nylon blend. So I use the Sock Magician's Toe Up Sock recipe on 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circular needles. So I do the toes magic loop, and then as soon as I get to here, I switch to my 9-inch circular and do the entire rest of the sock on that. And then I did about 15 rows of 2x2 rib. This is a standard heel flap and gusset. The only thing I will say is, because I really like working with this yarn, but it is a 2-ply. So I don't know how well it's going to wear. It should wear okay because it has nylon in it. However, 2-ply yarn isn't always the best kind of yarn for socks because it's not round. So a 2-ply yarn will flatten out and it's easier to create wear on a sock that way. I have another pair that I made of shorty socks with blue and orange Salburball yarn, and I really love them. And so far I have had no issues at all. I'm just a little concerned that they may not wear the same way. And if you can hear that, they're just started. I think that's the sound of motors chopping down trees. So it's just gonna be one of those episodes. So I have finished I have finished. I finished the gusset increases. This is where I was last time. So you can see I've only done like 2.5 inches of sock knitting. I have one more increase round to do, and then I'm going to do the heel turn and the heel flap and gusset. And then of course, after that, it's just the leg and the ribbing, and it's practically done. It's practically done already. So you can see I've only done this much. This is a beautiful little stitch marker from Nerd Bird Makery that Kalisha of the Quirky Monday Craft Cast gave to me, and I love it. So I'm using it as my progress keeper here. So not much progress to show on that. The other sock that I was working on, I do have a finished sock though. And I am using Hobie yarn. Now they sent this yarn to me to review. This is Happy Feet. I think the colorway is just like light gray or something. And then this is Hobie Antarctica yarn in the colorway Falkland, and it's got really long stripes. And I bound this sock off like a day ago, 2 days ago. So this is where I was last time. So I did actually finish a half a sock. These are shorty socks, so they went a little bit faster. Let me put it on my sock blocker so you can see it. I really like these. The stripes are a little long when you're knitting them, because it's like, I just want to get to the next color, but I really, really like how it turned out. It's perfect. This is a stitch marker that Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast gave to me. It is a llamacorn, and it has been my sock progress keeper since I started making socks. So I did a contrast toe, heel, and cuff, obviously, in the gray yarn. And then, of course, I use the Sockmentations toe up sock recipe. The only difference is I substituted a Fish Lips Kiss heel. And so I just did magic loop, went all the way up on a 9-inch circular, did the Fish Lips Kiss heel on a 9-inch circular, and then I did 2x2 rib and bound off. I have modified the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So normally I would do 10 rounds, 10 rows, 10 sets of short rows. I don't know what I'm saying, but I have taken out 2 rows so that I only do 9 sets of short rows, and this heel fits me so well. I really, really like it. I've like found my magic heel. Once these socks are done, or those, I don't know which one, I'm going to take another ball of the Hobie yarn because they sent me a bunch, and I'm going to cast on from the cuff down and just knit a tube to the toe, and then I am going to do an afterthought heel. I know. And probably not with waste yarn. I'm probably going to cut my knitting. Am I crazy? Yes, but that's okay. That's what you come here for, right? Right? So you can see the stripe, the green stripe is really long, and then this stripe, like this is a really clear delineation. It's like blue, green, purple, and then it gradiates into the pink and back into the blue, which I wasn't expecting, and I think it's really, really fun. So these are my sock pair number 13 for this year, but they're pair number 12 for Crochet Luna's Sock Theme Cal 2019. So these are the December socks, Season of Joy. I know that this looks nothing like Christmas, but who cares? They bring me joy. I love all of these colors. And the pair that you saw a minute ago, I don't even know where I threw them, that is the November prompt, which is Comfy Cozy. So those are the 2 socks that I have been working on. The other knitting project I have been working on is living in this swan bag. I got it, made it out of fabric that I got at Hobby Lobby on sale like a year and a half ago. And the bag is like, I love the bag. I think I did a really good job on it, but the interfacing I used was the wrong kind of interfacing. So the bag just constantly like wrinkles. I don't care, but I wouldn't give it away to anyone because it's definitely a dodgy bag. The pattern that is living in here is this. It is the Transitions Shawl by Hand Knit by Cam. I saw this pattern first of all on the Noble Character Crafts podcast, and I was like blown away by it. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make that. And it took me a very long time to order the yarn and start it, and then it took me a very long time to actually work on it. So I'm practicing my purling. I am on row 84 out of 197, so I'm not even halfway in the row count. I am definitely not halfway in the knitting. Right now I have about 260-ish stitches. It's gonna get up to almost 600 before the border. 600 stitches, you guys. So if I work at this very diligently and I really focus on it and I'm totally monogamous, then I might have it done by the time I'm dead. but it's worth it because it's so pretty. So I have done a little bit. The colors are all, I don't know what happened to my, oh, here it is. They're all Valley Yarns Charlemont. Valley Yarns is a, you're not gonna be able to see this. I give up. Valley Yarns Charlemont, it is a webs yarn. It is a 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 20% nylon. You get 439 yards per 100 grams. And I have a gray, a dark gray, a light green, and a dark green. And I'll just show them to you on the project. It has grown. This is where I was last time at the end of this gray stripe. So I have done a dark gray stripe, a light gray stripe, a light green, and started the light gray again. And after this light gray stripe, it's gonna go back to the dark green for a little while. It's almost to the point where I'm not gonna be able to show you the whole thing on the cable. But I want it to get scrunched up a lot because when I scrunch this, there's so much more room on this cable. Like, look at how much room there is. I am definitely getting faster on my purling, and you can clearly see like my tension is a little all over the place here, but here my tension is almost perfect. So I'm very, very happy with that. The purling is very slow still, but I'm definitely getting faster. So the way that I used to purl Continental, and the way I probably still do when I'm doing heel flap and gussets on socks and short row heels on socks, is I kind of turn my whole hand, and I can't do that for an extended period of time because it hurts my wrist. So I've really been focusing on going very slowly and concentrating, and instead of turning my hand, I hold my hand still, I move the yarn back. So if I normally tension my yarn like this, I wrap it around and then over this finger so that the yarn hangs like right here. So when I'm knitting, I just do this a little bit, and when I'm purling the normal way, I would be like this. That was a little dramatic, but so what I'm trying to do instead of moving my whole wrist is I move the yarn back almost to my knuckle, and then I just move my finger back and forth like this, which I'm not super quick at yet, but it is way better than moving my whole hand. And I am definitely getting a little bit faster than I was. Last night I did 3 rows on this, these 3 little gray rows. I will say it's kind of irritating, disappointing, I don't know what the right word is, to like spend so much time and only get 3 rows done. That took me like an entire episode of something. And by the time I get to have 500 stitches, probably 1 row is gonna take me an episode of something. But it's beautiful. I love it. The only obvious mistake I have made is right here, where I did something terribly wrong and dropped a stitch, and now there's a big hole. But I feel like in the scheme of things, you can't really tell. And it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So I think my goal is to just work on this a little bit at a time. I'm definitely seeing improvements. I mean, it's just yarn, right? If you want to get better at something, you have to practice. That's the truth. There is no way around it. If you want to get faster, if you want to build up the muscle memory, you have to practice. So I am practicing. I'm trying not to do more than a few rows at a time because eventually my shoulders start doing this. Like they just creep up and I get really tense. I'm trying not to do that. Just a few rows at a time, practice, set it down while I'm still in a happy place so that I don't throw it across the room and like never work on it again, because I do need to practice my purling for a reason, which I will talk about in 1 second. But first, I have one more crochet work in progress, which is living in a very cheerful, fun bag that is lime green on the inside, I might add. Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast, I got this from her Etsy store. And the pin as well, it says, nobody puts crochet in a corner, and that is true. So this has been my crochet kind of mindless project. And I say mindless, maybe I should call it mindful, because it doesn't require a lot of thought. I have the pattern memorized. I can just sit down and work a little bit, and this is what I have been doing over the last 2 weeks. And it is my Just Feel Better shawl, which is a pattern by Kalisha of the Quirky Monday Craftcast. Now, this is where I was last time, where this little stitch marker was. So I have completed all of this. And of course the rows are getting much, much longer. So they're going to start going slower. And I have just added last night the first stripe of the second color that I will be using. So this color, this green with spots of orange, is the colorway Middle Earth. And that is a yarn from Acorn Willows. It is an 80%, 20% superwash merino nylon blend. You can't really see. She like watercolored this beautiful little flower on the tag. So the colorway is Middle Earth. This is how much I have left. So I'm gonna start doing stripes to kind of weave in the next color, which is Yarn Crazy Obsessions in the colorway Professor Slughorn. So you can see these two kind of transition a little bit into each other because this one has more pink, but it also still has that green. This yarn, I will say, is a lot thinner than the Middle Earth yarn. Like, the plumpness factor is not there, but it's fine because in shawls you can mix yarns all you want. So I'm gonna start striping this in, and then until this is gone, or I lose it yarn chicken on a particular row. And then of course do a lot of rows in this one. And then once this one is used up, I will be going to this yarn. It's gonna be like a gradient, and this is Yarn on the Prairie in the colorway, I didn't write it down. I know you always tell me, Melissa. But this will be the third color, and I just think that is so beautiful. And this yarn is very similar to the Acorn Willows yarn in plumpness. So I think it'll be interesting to have kind of a little bit of a lighter section in the middle, and then the yarn is all the same weight and pretty much close as far as yardage goes, but this yarn's just a little plumper. And of course this whole thing, let me put these back in so that I don't get all tangled up. The whole thing, once it's blocked, is gonna be so lacy. I think this is a free pattern by Kalisha of the Quirky Monday Craft Cast. Hi, Kalisha. So you can just download it on Ravelry. I have it linked on my Ravelry page. And this is how it looks right now, but once it's blocked, it's totally gonna stretch out and be so drapey and loose and perfect for Florida. And my stitch marker here is like this little cloud with a face. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a sheep or a cloud or just like a marshmallow. I don't know, but I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So that is my crochet work in progress. And I'm very excited about that. Before I talk about the pile of shawls and sweaters, etc. that I have next to me, I want to talk about some maker plans. Now, I almost never talk about maker plans because generally I would just be talking about things and then never start them. Because that's how my life goes. So I don't even want to give you false hope that I'm going to start something. Plus my whip basket is no longer out of control. I would say it's only mildly more than it should be. Once I have this Nihilist cowl finished and maybe that Just Feel Better shawl finished, my whip basket will be in a place like that it has not been in a long time. Like not exploding into the living room. Like actually the basket and the whips will be the same level. I'm so excited for that to happen. The end of the whip. But there are two projects that I will be starting this year. They're the reason that I'm practicing my purling. Now, the first one is I was asked by my husband to make him a grandpa sweater. I've been waiting my whole life for this, you guys. I want to make him stuff constantly because that's how, he's my favorite person in the world and I want to make him stuff, but he's so hot, he never wears things. But there's like 3 cold days in Florida and he has a grandpa sweater, like a commercial one that he really likes. So he asked if I could make one and I was like, yes. Oh my gosh, so excited. So I spent some time looking through patterns and this is the one that he selected. It is the Gramps cardigan by Tin Can Knits. So it's a, let me see if I can find a better picture. Ooh. It comes in child all the way through adult sizes. So that's the kids version, but you can clearly see what it looks like. It's got little patch pockets. And this is the adult size. And if you can see right here, I know the color is kind of blowing out, but it's got also patches on the elbows. So I believe that it's a top-down raglan. And then you go back and you pick up and do this collar, which is worked with short rows. It has to be. I haven't really read the pattern, but it's worked with short rows because it's kind of bigger at the top and smaller at the bottom. And then you kind of do the patch pockets as well. So my only concern with this is it uses worsted weight yarn and there is no way I can make him a worsted weight cardigan. 100% no way. He will never wear it. It'll be too hot. So I need to use, I know there's plenty of people that have made this in DK weight yarn. So what I am going to try to do probably is order maybe 1 ball of a couple different kinds of DK weight yarn. Because if I'm going to spend like 100 hours making this, you had better believe it needs to be worth it. So I don't want to order a sweater's quantity of yarn and then it not be right for this project. So I'm going to try a few different DKs and probably swatch and see what I can get that's closest to the gauge in the pattern. I don't know what yarn yet. It definitely needs to be like a wool or a wool nylon blend. It cannot be acrylic because again, that would be so hot. It's got to be able to breathe. There are so many good, inexpensive wool yarns out there. Webbs has some, Knit Picks has some. So it's not going to be in price point very much more than using acrylic, and it will be a lot more wearable for him. So that's my plan. I don't know when I'm going to start this. I need to think about the yarn first, and once I swatch, if I can't get gauge with a DK weight yarn, then I'm gonna have to figure out the math on what size to make, because I will know what measurements I need to make. So if my gauge doesn't quite hit it, I may need to make a larger size than I normally would. It's all very complicated. But I'm excited to have the pattern picked out, and I will be looking for yarn shortly for that. So that's maker plan number 1. Reason I have been practicing my purling, because the tension's got to be on point, y'all, if I'm gonna make something of this caliber. The second maker plan, it would be a cardigan for me out of, and I'll see if I can show this to you without dumping it all over the place. I talked about this yarn at length previously, and it is the Skyrim yarn that Leah from Sheep Happens Yarn sent to me as a birthday present. It's a gradient set, so it goes like this from lightest to darkest. You can get these yarns, okay? So I'm gonna leave a link directly to her website down below. If you are a Skyrim fanatic or you just love these yarns, you can purchase them like one at a time, or you can purchase a set and you can make your very own Skyrim fade. So I am going to make myself a Skyrim fade sweater, going from lightest, this one, which is the colorway Solitude. So they're all named after cities in Skyrim. Could that be any cooler? No, I'm so excited. I literally just go in the closet sometimes and I like pet this yarn and then I go back. Solitude, and then it's gonna go to Dawnstar, and then Winterhold. So all of these are named after towns in Skyrim. Let me put this down before I break it. So I'm leaving a link to that. If you want that yarn, I highly, highly recommend. This is her extra fine merino sock, so it's 100%, oh no, that's not true. It's 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon, which makes me so happy because it's gonna wear better because it has a little bit of nylon in it. I have picked a pattern. Now I talked at length previously about what kind of pattern and how I kind of wanted it to be like the Find Your Fade cardigan. Is that the name of it? That Andrea Mowry did, but that is in a heavier weight of yarn and it has reverse stockinette, and I just didn't want to do the math, etc. But I found a pattern, probably way too complicated for my skill level, but hey, it's just yarn, right? You can do anything you want as long as you are willing to dedicate enough time. It is the Long Line Cardigan by Joji Locatelli. So I bought the pattern. I have not wound up the yarn or anything. I do want to practice a little bit on purling still. So let me see if there is any kind of different photo in here. The construction is a little terrifying, but all the hard stuff is at the beginning. So that's the back. And then the only other photo that's in here is this one. So you can see it's kind of exactly what I wanted. It has like a rolly kind of shawl collar. It's a little bit long, and I think it will be fairly easy to fade. It looks like it's faded now, but that she just kind of uses a variegated yarn and it kind of stripes down, and also the printer that I printed this on like totally made these weird yellow stripes across the whole thing. So it's not really as variegated as it looks. The thing is, and I think I can say this without giving away the secret sauce of the pattern, the construction, from what I can understand from the pattern, is you do a provisional cast on and then you like work the collar both ways, and then you pick up somehow and do the shoulders and attach the back and the front, and then you start knitting around, and whoa, there's so much picking up of stitches. this may be the cause of many a tale of woe in this podcast to come, but it has to be that cardigan is, I think, perfect. So I think it's worth the effort, and that yarn is, I'm so excited to get into it. I'm so excited to wind it up, but I'm not ready yet. I gotta practice my purling a little bit more. Maybe another couple of weeks on that before I wind up any yarn. And of course I need to swatch. Must swatch. So that is everything that I've been working on and everything that I'm planning to work on. So let's talk about the pile of shawls / sweaters that I have next to me that I would like to find a new home. So I'm going to pull these out in no particular order. And the way that this is going to work is I will tell you that I am charging for them, but in the scheme of things, it's not that much money. Like, I'm not trying to recoup money from them. I just don't have room for them anymore. So I will put them, I'm trying to think of how to do this properly. I will put these items and their prices down below in the drop down. If they are taken by somebody, then what I will do is put sold next to them. And I will also put my email address down below. So the way that it will work is if you would like a particular thing, you need to email me. I will send you a PayPal invoice. So it's going to be this cost plus shipping to wherever you are. Now I will ship to wherever you are, but I will tell you shipping is very expensive outside of America. So if I'm going to ship something to like the United Kingdom, it's going to be like 15 bucks probably, maybe more. Anywhere else in the world, 20 at least. Anywhere in America, probably like 5 bucks, depending on the item, but I'll weigh it and let you know. So the first one, I have tried to write down the patterns for these, but this I actually don't know the pattern for. It's totally gonna blow out the camera. It is this gigantic shallow orange triangle shawl. And I made this used to be one of my very favorite crochet shawls. I wore it all the time. Now I only had like 3 at the time, but if the tails are really long, like you can see how long the tails are, but when it's really cold, you can wrap the tails under and around again, and it will really, really keep your neck warm. I'm not gonna do that because it's really hot here. This yarn, I don't even know what this yarn is. It's definitely machine washable and dryable because I have machine washed and dried it many times. I will tell you the yarn on the edge is a We Are Knitters cotton blend, perhaps. I don't know. You can see, well, I don't know if you can see it because the orange is like taking over the screen. Maybe if I lean back, it really is this bright, but that's why I made it, because it's so bright. But I just have not worn this in over a year, and I didn't even wear it when the winter came around last time because I just have so many options now because I've been making so many things. Because what used to happen is I only made things for other people, and so I only had like 2 things to wear, and so I wear them all the time. But since I've been podcasting, I've been making a lot of things that I don't want to give away to other people because they're really special to me. So this has not gotten the love that it deserves. And so this is, what did I write down? I would say like 30 bucks if you would like to own this. It is a complete shawl, and I don't have the pattern, so if you want to make one, and I made this before I even had like Ravelry. So there's no Ravelry page for this, so I honestly don't know what the pattern is, but I really love this shawl. It has been well loved, and I would say instead of thinking of these as like used items, they're certified pre-owned. And I really actually like that. I love going thrift store shopping. I like less waste. Like, I do not want any of these items to end up in the trash because that would just break my heart. I think we need more slow fashion, less fast fashion, less, oh, I can buy that for $5 at Walmart, because the amount of stuff we're putting in landfills, you guys. Anyways, this is the shawl number 1. It is a dear, it has been well loved. Number 2 is actually a sample of one of the patterns that I have made. This is a Treasure Island shawl. It was the very first pattern I ever released, and this is in mint green from Karen Simply Soft. So all of these are machine wash and dryable, I believe. And I really love this too, and I used to wear this a lot. I'm not sure the pale color is my color, honestly. And I made it as a sample for the pattern itself because I needed a worsted weight version, but I don't think that I need that now. There's so many project pages on Ravelry, and this one has been worn a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times since I made it. It's been worn, but it's just been in a drawer. I don't want it to stay in a drawer. So this one would be only $25 for a completed shawl. It has been loved as well. Not well loved because it didn't get worn that much. And I think you should wear what you have made. But I just have too many things and not enough room. This one has been worn a lot. This is one of the things that I wore constantly. And it's washed. Okay, it's clean. I'm not going to send you like a dirty shawl. But this is a Lion Brand mandala cake. I called this my Sunset Shawlette. And back when I very first started the podcast, this was like my favorite thing. So I wore this all the time. There's no pattern for this specifically. It is just a granny triangle. And you just keep going and going. And the reason I called it my Sunset Shawlette is because I think that it looks like a sunset. It's beautiful, and it's been washed several times. Y'all know how I feel about Lion Brand mandala. It's a little stiff to work with, but once it's washed, it's amazing. It's so soft, so drapey. I love it. So this is also $25. And I hope that it goes to a good home because I love it very much. And it has been such a good shawl to me, but I haven't worn it in like a year, as I said. The next shawl, you guys have actually never even seen on this podcast. This one I have priced for $30. It was something that I wanted to do, and then I decided that it's a tiny bit small for me, so I think perhaps a smaller person or someone who doesn't mind wearing a shawl pin underneath, this would be perfect for. And it is a corner to corner. Let's see, which side is a corner to corner heart shawl. Now, inspired by Zelda. So I'm calling this the Heart Container Shawl because it looks exactly like the heart container from Zelda. So it's corner to corner. This is Karen Simply Soft Sparkle yarn. So you can clearly see all of these yarns are super sparkly. And they're all normal hearts. And then you get to this one and he only has half a life. So it's a shawlette and it totally is fine. But for my personal taste, I wanted it to be just a little bit bigger. And I could have made it bigger, but once I had finished it and woven in all the ends, the million ends because of corner to corner, I didn't want to go back and do it. Because these ends, you would just need to like pin them to get them to stay. And I found myself adjusting this a little bit, which I don't particularly like. That's why I'm in a cowl place at the moment. But it's so great. It's so great because of the hearts. It just hasn't gotten the love that it deserves. So the Heart Container Shawl, there is no pattern for this. I just made it up. I made a little graph and then I just worked it into a pattern. And it does have, even though it's corner to corner, a almost straight edge. So I squared off the top. That's my favorite. And then finally the shawl, the last shawl that I have to show you is something I showed on the podcast. And it is, I have thought about trying to find a new home for this for a while. And every time I pull it out, I'm like, it's so beautiful. But I have not worn this a single time because it's too big for me. I'm not a person who kind of wears shawls over their shoulder very much. And if I were to wear this over my shoulder, it would go all the way down to my butt. That's how big this is. This pattern is the Edlothia shawl pattern. I again made this out of Lion Brand mandala. I think the colorway is Gnome, but it's basically a neon rainbow. Let me scoot back. This is the shawl. It's everything I love in life, but the problem is it's so big. It's too big for me. Like I can wrap it like this and it still goes this is like my waist is here. It goes all the way down. And if I were to put it over my shoulders, it would go all the way down. That's how big it is. And it's beautiful. And I have these grand illusions that I'm going to like wear a little black dress and like wear this as a cover on it and it'll be just amazing. And I have worn little black dresses to things, and did I pull this out? No. Sometimes you make things just to make them because they're gorgeous. I love the way the stripes worked out for these sections. Like every section has a different color. It's so this is definitely my favorite thing that I am showing you. It's beautiful. I love it. I can't get enough. Every time I pull it out, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I made that. And Edlothia is a free pattern, but it is not for the faint of heart. So this is this. This is the Edlothia. It deserves to have some love, I think. So if you are interested in the Edlothia shawl, you could just shoot me an email down below and you'll see the price and everything like that. And then finally, I have 2 sweaters. I know. I spent all of 2018 making sweaters. And now I really know what I like, what fits me, how I want things to fit me, etc. The first one is the Rabbit Hole Cardigan by Carmen Jorison. This is a free pattern. I made this out of Stylecraft Special DK yarn, and it fits really well. It is about hip length on me. It's kind of lacy, so like it's perfect for Florida. It's totally fine. However, I have worn it one time. It is not my color palette, and I know every time I pull this out, somebody comments and is like, no, it looks great on you. I appreciate you. That's very sweet. It's not my color palette. These are not colors I would normally pick. I loved it when I was working on it. I just haven't worn it. And what is the point of having something in my closet that I'm never going to wear? Because the colors are not what I gravitate. This is what I gravitate towards. Or blue or gray. Or neon orange. So this is available. I wear between a medium and a large US women's size. I have a bust measurement, I would say, of 40 inches at the apex, 34 underneath, and I have kind of a long torso. So if I would say this shirt is a large from Gap Outlet, but that's only because I need it to be longer because I have a long torso. There's a lot of extra room here, so a medium would fit me just fine. I wear a medium in like unisex t-shirts, so if that is your size, this will probably fit you. And I may be able to put some measurements if you need them as well. I'm just thinking it would look really cute on someone. Not me, I'm not gonna wear it. And then finally, I have my Reminisce cardigan, which my favorite thing about this is the amazing buttons. It's very, very, very long. The length is the reason that I am trying to find it a home. Not that I don't mind long cardigans. It's I would need to do a little bit of hip shaping. So I think if you have, I want it to close, and it closes just fine, except down at the bottom. So it will button all the way, but then when it gets, let me scoot back. When it gets to here, it like is gonna have to really stretch, and I don't particularly love that look for me, because generally when I'm wearing a cardigan, I do this, which is why this long line cardigan appeals to me, because it's got extra fabric here, so I can wrap it with no problem, and it's not gonna look weird. The buttons, again, are my favorite thing. They're wooden pink flowers. It also has a thumb hole right here. This is made out of Loops and Threads wool-like yarn held double, and that is another reason as well, because I love blue and I love gray. I love the contrast, but I think I would be happier, for me personally in my taste, if this was all blue and this was gray. So the marling is fine, but I just don't find myself reaching for it as much as I want to. Same size measurements apply. This is the medium large size of the pattern for the Reminisce sweater from Heidi May, although I would say it's got a little extra room here if you have more up top than I do. This may fit you very well. So there's a pattern page for this on my Ravelry as well, and I'm sitting on it. I've worn it, I wore it quite a lot when I first made it, but I have really been making a conscious effort to try to make things, to try to figure out what it is that I like. And if I could have a dream style of what I look like every day, so if you've ever watched Elementary and Lucy Liu on that show, I want her entire wardrobe. That's what I would wear all the time. I'm very much like I like flowy things, but I like them to be light. I like drapey things. I like generally a looser top and a tighter bottom. I love yoga pants, I love skinny jeans. That's kind of what I wear on my bottom half, and on the top I don't like things to be tight or constricting at all. It just makes me feel claustrophobic and uncomfortable. So that is, let's see how many things there are. 3, 7 things. So if you are interested in having one of those come live with you, just look down in the drop down below and you will be able to see if it's still available. If you'll have like, if you contact me about something, I'll send you an invoice. You have to respond to that within a set amount of time. Otherwise, I will go on to the next person if there's more interest in one particular object. And then, is that all? I definitely haven't done any sewing. I haven't even touched my sewing machine, and I need to because I have 2 t-shirts that need mended. One has a hole under the arm and I could totally just sew that up. And the other one was one of my favorite, like just plain blue t-shirts that has like a local pizza place on it. The neck is like a little tight for me. So I must have been yanking on it because now there's a hole in between the neckband and the neck. And I need to sew that back up because I'm not getting rid of a t-shirt for a tiny hole. No, I will use something until it disintegrates in my hands. So yeah, I think that's what I have to show you tonight. I have to go make a carrot cake. So we'll see what time it is. Oh, it's 9:08. I'm right on schedule. So I'm gonna clean all of this up, get this video edited. I'm hoping to leave the house at like 11 a.m. Go get my mom, and then we're gonna go to the grocery store and then buy things to make a carrot cake, and then come home and make a carrot cake, which thankfully I have a food processor, because otherwise it would not be worth it to just sit there and grate carrots until you die. So you need like 2 cups, 3 cups of carrots. I use, if you would like to know the recipe, I use the carrot cake recipe in the Super Fun Times Vegan Holiday Cookbook by Isa Chandra Moskowitz. This lady, I have all of her cookbooks. She's amazing. I have fed this carrot cake to like multiple people. They did not know it was vegan. It has a like homemade icing recipe. Oh, so good. Literally, my brother, like last night, I was talking to my friend who was here and she was like, we're really excited about your carrot cake. I took a picture of the recipe so I could make it. And then he said something about cream cheese icing. And she was like, yeah, unless it's a vegan cake. And he was like, well, I don't want a vegan cake. And I was like, bro, I've made this cake for you like 3 times and you had no idea. And he was like, that's the same cake. Yes. I have fed this to people who had no idea that it had no dairy or eggs in it, and they loved it. I've made it at birthdays for my dad, multiple times for my brother, and for Christmas. Last year, I made one. So that is what I will be doing. I'm not going to show you the recipe because like copyrights and stuff, but it is, I will tell you what it's called. And it is on page, it's just called Classic Carrot Cake on page 191 in this cookbook. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, I think that's all. Leave me a comment below, tell me what you're working on, and the next time I'll have a winner for the Year of the Sock for the 2nd quarter, and then I will see you guys in 2 weeks. So until I see you, happy crafting, be kind to yourself, and I am sending you all the love. Bye.